everybody, I'm Philip.
And I'm Justin.
And together, we are Pajamas. And we are here to continue our trek through Doctor Who Season 3. We are on Episode 6. We just left Human Dalek. That was interesting.
It was very intriguing.
Yeah, it definitely was. We had a pretty cool discussion after both of those, the 1 and 2-parter respectively. We're looking toward the present and the future as we continue on through Season 3. Couple of disclaimers real fast. The first one I'm going to put up on the screen now. It's summer. Summer sucks. There you go. Yeah. Also, I have a stain on my shirt because I'm a slob and all my white shirts are dirty. That is the treat I'm giving to everyone today. The stain on my shirt. From me to you at home.
How very generous you are.
I am, yes. I'm a giving person. I was going to put a Band-Aid on it. Like right here. Like on my fat stomach. I thought that'd be more distracting. So yeah. That's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about me being gross. We're here to watch some Doctor Who. So finally, without further ado, let's get to it.
I will change what it means to be human.
No, I'm sorry. Did he say he was going to change what it means to be human?
This episode begins with an awkward scene.
I don't know. Ooh. All right.
It's an interesting perfume. What's it called?
Soap.
Oh, look, they got nibbles. I love nibbles. Professor's going to be doing tonight. That looks like it might be a sonic microfilm manipulator.
He's a science geek, I should have known.
Hey, science geeks are sexy.
Science geek, what's happening?
Just went home. On your own? This is a friend of mine. No, it's just the doctor.
She's having none of it. Stammer your way through this one.
Good stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Professor Richard Lazarus.
Awesome.
Tonight,
Looks like Sherlock's brother.
Something like that really exists. When you become rich and famous, you must buy us one.
Where do I get one of those? Does it make you skinny? Give your hair back?
Basically, plastic surgery without the side effects.
I have some experience of this kind of transformation. That's not possible.
What's wrong?
look at yourself, woman.
Damn.
But they're still mutating now.
Because he missed something. Something in his DNA has been activated and won't let him stabilize.
We could be rich and young and together.
You think I'd waste another lifetime on you?
What should I do?
And Philip, do not buy me that machine.
You sure?
I'm very sure that I don't want something popping out of my back to kill both of us.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You'll have to excuse me when I take care of Letitia here. I've been neglecting her.
Uh-oh.
You seem very young to have such a responsible position. Be much experience?
Where did they go?
Upstairs, I think. Why?
Doctor, I'm speaking to you. No, Mum.
Perhaps she should choose her friends more carefully.
2 or 3 or 4.
Doesn't work like that. Some people live more in 20 years than others do in 80.
He must be some guy.
Maybe she loves him. She just met him.
There are things you should know.
What things?
You mean you don't have a plan?
Yes, the plan was to get inside here.
Then what?
Well, then I'd come up with another plan.
How can it be human?
Probably from dormant genes in Lazarus' DNA. The energy field in this thing must have reactivated them. Now it looks like they're becoming dominant.
Keep away from my daughter. Mum, what are you doing?
All of the mothers, every time.
And it was Tish who invited everyone to this thing in the first place, so I'd say technically it's her fault.
Lazarus, back from the dead. Should have known, really. That's a price worth paying. Is it? We need to turn this up to 11. You hang around at Beethoven, you're bound to pick a few things up.
Especially about playing loud.
Sorry? It's been fun though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what'd you say? One more trip?
No. Right. Well, we've already said goodbye once today. It's probably best if you just go.
I know he's dangerous. This information comes from Harold Saxon himself. You're not safe.
So what did you think of that?
It was very interesting.
Yeah, that's my line. Yeah, a lot to chew on this one again. The notion of reversing the hands of time and the consequences.
Interestingly named Lazarus with the notion of getting another chance of life. Have you noticed that to use the concept of Lazarus has been used several times before? For example, the Lazarus effect or experiment. And that's only to name one. And in such cases, it turns out that getting the second chance of life actually turns out to be to not only the individual's detriment, but to also of others.
Yeah, I was about to say, at what cost? At what cost do you get this second chance at life?
Basically, it seems that the lesson of this story is that nothing is free. Oh, nothing is ever truly free.
Well, there's that term in economics. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So I think that applies here as well. I also found it the way that they explained Lazarus turned into a giant scorpion thing made perfect sense, because in our DNA is dormant.
All of the species that humanity was in previous evolutionary forms.
Right, yeah, so...
that have gone dormant, but they're still there.
So, very intriguing way to explain the metamorphosis from human to, the callback, then back to human again. Are you sure you don't want me to buy you one of those machines?
I'm very sure.
Are you sure you're sure?
I'm very sure.
It could be a surprise. We don't know what you'll turn into.
That's exactly what I'm afraid of.
So would you rather age than turn into a giant scorpion?
I think that the vegan diet that you have for me is enough.
Okay.
That and moisturizer.
Moisturize me. Moisturize me. And then we had a couple subplots of Martha. Should she stay or should she go? I'm glad that she finally addressed, just being a passenger. Now she's officially a full-fledged companion. Do I think it was necessary? Yes and no.
Eventually they would have to talk about it because it's been nagging at her for such a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I didn't mind it so much. Because we actually address things as they happen with Martha. Because Martha addresses things. I like Martha. Yay, Martha. And then we have the other subplot of the family. And that one gentleman telling Martha's mom about who the doctor really is. We don't know what he said to her.
And understandably, I can sympathize with her that all that she's doing, even being first introduced to the doctor, all that she's doing is being protective of her daughter.
Well, it makes sense, yeah. If your child met someone and then one night later, 1 or 2 nights later, yeah, like, I don't blame her one bit.
That, and also she's on track to making something that's great for her life. And well, sometimes love can get in the way because then you have to juggle 2 things.
Yeah, the heart and the head, as I've talked about before with Martha, who's been historically very adept at balancing both. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes with this random person. I forget their name now, but this random person who is feeding information. Because I even thought to myself, I was like, well, wouldn't this be classified information? If he's actually giving real information about the doctor, wouldn't this be considered classified in some realm? Maybe, but I'm assuming, this is some kind of government agency. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's some kind of covert thing. I don't even know who this person is. I'm just assuming they are something that is like official. Maybe they're not. Maybe he's not. I don't know.
Seems like he's trying to interfere by means of trying to wedge the 2 apart, and doing that by means of Martha's mother.
The thing we don't know is this person being honest, or is he using miscommunication or mistrust? Is he planting the seeds of doubt by using fallacies?
Since, well, technically what he's saying is true, but misleading.
Exactly. So where on the spectrum is the truth that he's telling her? It's a very intriguing idea and something we should keep an eye out for. I don't think this is the last we've seen of him or whatever group he represents, if any. I'm wondering if this could be the seed to plant that's going to lead us into a season finale. Maybe this is the new big bad we are going towards, which I'd be all about. I mean, we both love the Daleks, but at the same time, I do not want season 3 to end with another 2-part Dalek episode. Like I was expecting it, which is why I was kind of shocked that we got them in the last 2 episodes. We got them sort of mid-season. So I wasn't expecting them because we just saw them like a few episodes back. So if we're leading to a new big bad for the end of season 3, I'm all for it. I mean, obviously we haven't seen the last of the Daleks.
Oh, yes.
I'm just saying we don't need to see them for a while. Let's take a break from the Daleks. But overall, yeah, the whole idea of the fountain of youth being sonic ray things that turned him into Sherlock's brother and the guy from the bank in Game of Thrones.
It is very interesting that it's a scientific way of explaining what rejuvenation is trying to do. Basically make everything go backwards. But the problem, though, it turned out that it went too backwards. Backwards in time to prehistoric times.
What's also a very curious thing to think about is that not all the cells went back to the same. Some went back to when he was younger. Others went way, way back. Way, 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 way back. Ideally, the machine would go whoosh. Like that. This one was like whoosh. As a scientist, looking at it from a purely analytical point of view, it was very foolish. Obviously, run more tests. Don't use yourself as a subject. I understand why he did. I'm not advocating using animals for experiments, but science does that. So
whether we like it or not, it's going to be done anyway.
So, I mean, in the scientific realm, use a chimpanzee.
Interestingly,
and try that.
Whether something is ethical or unethical, scientific inquiry and investigation will continue, at least in some sort, even covertly if necessary, because of that drive for reaching towards knowing the limits of different things.
Yeah, the idea of ethics is, we've talked about before, ethics is subjective. My idea of ethics is different than your idea of ethics, is different than, the person getting gas at the gas station right now, their idea of ethics.
Indeed.
So I'm not trying to put like an overarching stamp of ethics onto it. I'm just saying if you are in that field and you are doing something as potentially dangerous as that, yes, there are great rewards, but with great rewards come great risk.
Basically the story of life.
Yeah, but that's a huge reward. But, to turn back the hands of time, the risk is equally as great. So maybe minimize the risk as much as possible so that you're not turning into a giant scorpion monster, is all I'm saying.
Although Lazarus did make a point of in what way is the Doctor in a position to speak of that? Because, well, how many times has he been reborn, basically?
Yeah, but it's actually in his DNA to be able to do that, to regenerate.
So basically, as far as he's concerned, as long as it's natural, it's fine.
Well, no, it's the control versus the experiment. The control group can look at the experiment and be like, it can question the experiment. The experiment's not going to question the control. So that's how I say what's going on. His method is proven to work. Lazarus's wasn't, obviously. While Lazarus had some reasoning behind and some real, he could back it up. He had the train of thought wasn't. I'm not saying it was incorrect. I'm just saying the Doctor comes from a place of the scientific method has been proven via his genetics and the Time Lord's DNA and all that stuff. This hasn't. So to me, it's like, how can I put this? To me, it's like a maggot telling a fly how to fly.
Which should be the other way around.
Exactly. So,
well, more like giving it a head start. The maggot will never be able to fly until it gets wings. Or invents a flying machine, whichever comes first.
Exactly. And don't let Lazarus invent that, because God knows what would happen. So yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think that one of the few times I will defend the Doctor in his smarminess. He wasn't even really being smarmy then. He was just, he came from a higher, I have the higher ground. And he did, I think. Are you sure you don't want me to buy you?
I'm very sure.
All right. So you could turn into anything. Think of evolution and all of the, could be some like water slime.
Yes, and then become a star in some sort of live action hentai. No.
Fair enough. All right, go through my notes. So I wrote, leaves Martha, ? Nope. We knew that wasn't going to happen. We knew. But as said, I'm glad that they addressed it, and yay, Martha. The older version of Lazarus reminded me of Dan Aykroyd's character in Nothing But Trouble, which is an awesome movie, if I do say so myself. And then another movie reference. When Lazarus was telling what I assume was his, when he was telling her, when he's like, look in the reflection, that was so mean. That was so mean. They could have been scorpion people together. He probably could have won if he had let her change, and then they like scorpion king and queen their way throughout England.
That, or at least they wouldn't have died alone.
There you go. Gotta make the tragedy romantic. When we were first introduced to the mystery guy, with all the information that we don't know what he said, which is on purpose, obviously, which is fine. I like an air of mystery. He says to the mom that she needs to choose her friends more carefully. And I was like, that's vague. And then it got more vague. I know who he is and dangerous, which, yes, as you said, is true. But as said, I'm very keen to see where this goes.
There is one issue that I have. She also doesn't know who that person is. So
right.
Why is she trusting this person that she just met, while at the same time not trusting this doctor, whom she also just met, and is even misjudging the judgment of her own daughter, and instead is going to rely on, as far as she knows, some nobody's advice.
It's crazy what the power of perception and almost like manifest destiny. Like she has this bad feeling about the doctor, which she should, by all rights, she should.
Basically, she's trying to
Well, she's trying to validate her intuition. And what better way to do that than someone to tell you what you're feeling is correct.
That someone else feels the same way that she does validates at least what she's assuming.
She wants evidence to her assumption, to her gut feeling, to her instinct, which I can totally respect. And she conveniently got it. She has the maternal, motherly instinct. She's telling her something's wrong. Something's wrong with my baby. And this guy comes up, like, yeah, that guy that she's with is dangerous. I knew it. Tell me more. Like, it's self-fulfilling prophecy on one hand, while on the other hand, as you said, he's right. The doctor is dangerous. But as we discussed a little bit ago, we don't know where on the danger scale this guy's coming from. Is it he's a Time Lord and he's doing this, or is he working for someone else who's spin doctoring? What's really going on? It's just very open-ended, and I like that. So we get to see where this goes.
Still, though, she shouldn't put all of her trust on this one person. She seems to have, well, like you said, she was looking for validation, she found it, and so she's going to completely agree with it.
Yeah.
And she probably doesn't really know for sure if she could trust this person.
Well, she didn't even question it. She was just, your intuition is correct.
Yes. She may only be intuitively going along with it instead of actually really thinking.
Oh, that's exactly what's going on. Yeah. She's using the heart, not the head. Which, fair play to her. I'm not saying she's wrong for it. But as you said, she doesn't know who this guy is.
If this were a court, for example, what she has at best is hearsay.
Yes, exactly. No concrete evidence that we know of yet. When the scorpion guy was coming after him, when they were inside his machine, I was like, what would the doctor potentially turn into? Ooh.
We would see exactly what the Time Lords were before they were Time Lords.
Yeah. Oh, that was a very curious thing to think about. And then the last thing I wrote, other than the very, very, very last thing, the notion of a longer life is not a better one.
Well, yes, it's also what you do with your life. For example, I think that he mentioned this, that someone 20 versus someone 70.
He said you can live more in 20 years than you could in 80. Depends on the person.
Yes. That it's what you do with your life that will really determine if you will have a great life, not simply the quantity of how many years one possesses.
I do think that if you have more years, you have statistically a better chance to have a better life.
Well, yes. The statistic of how many times will you have to flip a coin and have it land on its side instead of heads or tails, well, the more times that you flip it, to make an analogy, the more likely that, yes, it will finally do that rare, very rare instance of landing on its side.
Right. Gotta have enough flips and enough years to make it happen. And then everything else are for my patrons. So another interesting topic, once again, brought to us by Doctor Who. Doctor Who Martha and Martha's sister versus Scorpion Monster. I wish Doctor Who, and I know this, my patrons might notice this on the full reactions. I try and a lot of time in editing is spent balancing the sound, because it's like bang 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 bang. It's like the sound design is so, it's not evened out. So like they're talking very quietly, and then like when the music kicks in and the action happens, it's so loud I have to turn it down. I don't know what's going on with that, but I felt the need to mention it for some reason. I was going somewhere with it, but I forgot. Last time, are you sure you don't want me to get you a...
Sure.
Okay.
I'm very sure.
Okay.
Besides, you don't know if it would be something interesting or uninteresting that would come about, because remember, it's going back in time, so you could even, as far as we know, it could have turned on what would have resulted in him turning into nothing more than a single-celled organism.
That is true, yeah. You're not going to take over the world that way.
Microbiologically, there are things that have withstood the test of time that even humans cannot.
But if his notion was to take over the world and suck the life out of people with his scorpion tail thing,
Instead of, for example, somehow
I'd say
making a pandemic.
A single cell organism doesn't have a brain. He would not have retained any of his thought processes or sense of any. No, there's no identity there. It's a cell, you know.
That is true.
But yes, he could have in fact turned into that.
Very interesting episode to think about.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add about this episode? So that's going to wrap up this video. As always, I don't have a fancy outro, so I'll simply say thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.